If you remember, our biggest criticism towards the 2019 version of The Lion King was that for all the attention paid to the realism in every blade of grass and every strand of hair, the animals simply could not emote. This new adaptation of The Call of the Wild goes too far in the opposite direction with animals that constantly seem like they are mugging for the camera, particularly with the lead, a dog named Buck. Dogs are pretty expressive animals, and yet this movie always pushes so far that eventually you wonder why the animals just do not talk if they're going to be rendered in such manner. This becomes a huge problem. This problem cripples the rest of the movie, where the majesty of the natural world is undercut by the CGI creature at the forefront. It never felt like we're watching something real. Everything about Buck as a character is guided by a need to make sure the audience knows exactly what he's feeling and doing at all times. The realness of the setting cannot be properly appreciated when it is viewed through the eyes of not only a cartoon dog, but a broad interpretation of a real dog. If this movie is all about appreciating the natural world, you simply cannot have your protagonist be so unnatural. With Buck, a cartoon dog, at the forefront of the narrative, everything else just feels like an amusement park. More often than not, it felt like we're watching a video game where the avatar was a working dog. Even when the film stops for some establishing shots of the expansive natural scenery, we quickly snap back to a cartoon dog doing another eyebrow raise or behaving like he's a person trapped in a dog's body. The book itself tells us a story about the conflict between man and nature. But this movie tells a different story. It's about trying to make a computer animated dog look natural, and it fails big time. Apart from that huge problem with the dog, this movie is also slow, emotionless, and boasting fairly mediocre production values. There is something seriously wrong with an adaptation of a classic novel when an hour into the film, you cannot tell what the story is actually about. The small injections of humor here and there feel like a desperate attempt to find the lightness that has inherent in Disney animal films for decades. In terms of the cast, Dan Stevens is the weakest link, while the rest of the ensemble is given some further dimension. Stevens is left with an overdone caricature of a villain. It's really bad. Even kids might be frightened because it is way too over the top. In general, we cannot recommend this movie at all. Not even for kids. It's pretty scary for small children, and the story might not interest older kids. This movie is not worth your money.